Welcome to the Blue Line Project. Real talk from the front lines of American policing. We cut through the noise, challenge broken metrics, and focus on solutions that keep officers safe, communities strong, and justice real. Blue Line Strong. Here is your host, John Gabrielson.
Today is July 3rd, 2026. In less than 24 hours, America turns 250 years old. I am John Gabrielson, and I am the host of the Blue Line Project, and I am honored to say that I have been an awesome police officer for just over 21 years and have a privilege of hosting this podcast on a regular basis. This episode, you guys, is not about politics. It's going to be all about principles. We are going to celebrate America's 250th anniversary and go back to that document which started it all, the Declaration of Independence. This one document and the men who signed it, they put everything on the line. They knew when they signed that document on that fateful day, they knew that they were signing a death warrant should their rebellion, their revolution not be successful. They knew that. And we today, as the men and women in law enforcement, we put our uniforms on every day and walk out that front door every day to make those words of the Declaration of Independence real on the streets of America. Yes, everything we do in this country, everything that the United States of America stands for, goes all the way back to that document that Thomas Jefferson penned and that John Hancock put the biggest signature on you could possibly imagine. Today on the Blue Line Project, I want to unpack life. I want to unpack liberty, and I want to unpack the pursuit of happiness. Because at the end of the day, that is what our mission is as police officers, is to ensure that our American citizens, that our countrymen each and every day can pursue that without the fear of crime. We want to show why policing is practical and how it defends those rights. This show, this broadcast, and patriotism and love of country is not a political issue. Patriotism is not politics. Love for country is not left, and it is not right. Us as police officers, we are also not to be political. We are neither left nor right. We have just one job, and that is to uphold people's rights and to provide a just society through just enforcement of just laws. So stay with me throughout this broadcast as we seek and go through this document. So as we start today's show, I want to read and show you guys and put up the words penned by Thomas Jefferson and then break them down. And the Declaration of Independence starts this way. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among those are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. That to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the government. What Thomas Jefferson wrote here is the why of America. Why does America exist? Why was our country founded and created? It was so people living here and coming here and integrating here could come to the greatest melting pot on earth, that they could pursue life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, free from the fear of tyrannical government, free from the fear of rampant crime, and that they had a just government that was there to secure those rights. The United States government, the United States Constitution, which all started with the Declaration of Independence, was there to secure the rights of the people. Police departments, police officers, sheriffs, constables, troopers, highway patrol, whatever your designation is, if you put on a badge, ICE agents, yes, even ICE, Homeland Security, Department of Defense, all of these different law enforcement agencies that are out there are there to secure your rights. You see, a government, a truly just government, no government grants rights to you. Government only derives its power from the people. Police officers derive their power from the people. Sir Robert Peel has said it so clearly that the public are the police and the police are the public. You know, Thomas Jefferson later wrote this great quote where Jefferson says, God who gave us life gave us liberty. Can the liberties of a nation be secure when we have removed a conviction that these liberties are a gift of God? Do you hear what Jefferson is saying? Our liberty does not come from government. It comes from God, the Creator. He is where we derive our liberty and our rights. And government, as I said, is there to secure those rights. So what does this actually look like? What does this look like on the streets here in America in 2026? Well, I want to spend the next 20 or 30 minutes breaking this down. I want to break down individually those words, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And I want to break it down through the eyes of our police officers, of our cops out there on the street. So let's start with that first word that we have a right to, and that is a right to life. To my fellow police officers, every call you take, whether the most minute, small call to the biggest call you could ever go to, from that domestic violence to that traffic stop or subject stop or to the active shooter or anything in between, every single call you go to, your mission is to preserve life. That is your first mission, which is in line with our great country's founding document, the Declaration. You see, safe streets equals the most basic prerequisite that everybody else wants to have. That is life. People want to be able to go to work, come home, do and be with their family and do that what they want to do. They want to be able to do it without the fear of crime, which is why we have law enforcement. We are there to provide safe streets. You see, you are not there to be a tyrant. You are not there to enforce unjust law. You are not there to take away people's liberty. You see, if somebody is asking you to take people's liberty, then you are in absolute contradiction to what your mission is. Your mission is to secure people's right to have life. You see, without the right of life being protected, everything else is just theory. You see, the right to life is paramount of our mission in law enforcement. So as you go out there and hit the streets, I want you to remember that every single day. When you wake up in the morning and you kiss your husband or your wife goodbye and you go to that job, Know that your mission and your role, that thing that you want to do each and every day that gives you purpose, is to go out and ensure that people have the right to life. And then you have liberty. What is liberty? You see, liberty is not the absence of law. And I want to say that again. Liberty is not the absence of law. You see, if you have the absence of law, you have the exact opposite. You have anarchy or chaos. You see, liberty is rooted in just laws, right? It is the presence of a law that is equally applied. You see, we teach and preach procedural justice, giving people a voice, being fair in our actions, neutral and fair in our actions, and all the different things. Why do we preach the 4 pillars of procedural justice? Because we know that law has to be equally applied. If you are not equally applying law, then you are by nature unjust. You see, criminal gangs and disorders are much of a threat to liberty as government overreach. You see, crime threatens people's liberty, and it also threatens people's lives. So if your mission is to preserve life, then second, you have to be there to enforce just laws, because that is your mission as a police officer. Bottom line, I can't say it any other way. But police officers, we also have to have discretion and understand a tyrannical government. And we have no business enforcing unjust laws or laws that actually take away people's liberty. Police enforce the rules so the weak cannot be ruled by the strong. We are there to enforce rules, and we are there to protect the weakest among us. You see, we have a society where there are strong men and men that are wolves that would love to prey on their fellow man or woman because they are weak. And so you as the sheepdog, you as the protector, you are there each and every day taking that call for service, making that subject stop or traffic stop to protect the weak. We enforce those rules. We enforce just laws to protect the weakest among us. And this reminds me, going back to George Washington, who is just an absolute amazing man. I mean, this man was touched by God. This man truly is the father of our country. Do you realize, when you think about how amazing George Washington is, he could have been king. He could have been king of the United States. He could have appointed himself king and everyone would have welcomed him in. But what did he do? After his years of service, after his service as president of the United States, he actually stepped down voluntarily, turning over the reins to our second president of the United States in a fair and open election. And on his farewell address, as George Washington left office, he left us with these words, and he says, "Respect for its authority, compliance with its laws, acquiescence in its measures are duties enjoined by the fundamental maxims of true liberty. And liberty itself will find in such a government, with powers properly distributed and adjusted is surest guardian." Think about this. We have to have respect for our laws. We have to willingly submit to the laws. A people that is just and true. We've talked about this so often, weaving in so many themes that we've talked about here on the Blue Line Project and at CRI about a virtuous life and people understanding that public virtue matters and respect for the law matters. And when you acquiesce and you do not have respect for the laws of this land and you seek to help those and help those break laws and help them do things like illegal immigration, and you aid and embed, you are undercutting everything that this country stands for. The fundamental maximum of liberty is to uphold law voluntarily. As Washington said, liberty itself will never be found in government because government tends to always be corrupt, which is why our founders wrote the Constitution to control government, not to control the peoples, right? Washington was saying that powers properly distributed and adjusted among the people and the guardians, that is the surest way to guard our freedoms, to guard our republic, and to guard and protect liberty. Liberty, at the end of the day, is what we have to protect, and liberty is protected through law. Like I said, Without true laws that are just, there is no liberty. Liberty is found in law itself. And George Washington reinforced that in his farewell address. So we've looked at life, we've looked at liberty, and then the writer Thomas Jefferson, he wrote this phrase, pursuit of happiness. I think that is a little and often forgotten phrase we as Americans forget that was put into the Declaration of Independence. You see, how could you pursue happiness if you're afraid to walk to your car because you're going to get mugged? Or how can you pursue happiness when you are afraid that your car is going to get broken into because you live in a society where people don't respect others? How can you pursue happiness when you're afraid to send your kids to school because of what's going to happen there? Or how can you pursue happiness if you can't run a business because you're afraid of all the things that can happen to you from a criminal element, a criminal nature? You see, the pursuit of happiness only comes in liberty, and liberty only comes when there is life. So if you're protecting life, upholding liberty through just laws, then by its very nature, people can then pursue happiness. You see, happiness is only found in a safe, orderly society, right? Where communities are working together. When communities work together and come together around a common goal, which is three things that I preach constantly, is if we come around understanding that all men want life, all men want liberty, and all men want happiness, then we can come together and the American dream grows. The American dream, as it comes, all these people flooding. I've found it so fascinating to watch. We have a media and we have an entire segment of our country that wants to denigrate and tear down and rip apart and shred this great republic and all of its founding principles. And they do it in the name of equity, and they do it in all these names of all this nonsense. And you know what? They're full of what. They just hate this country. They are true Marxists. They are true socialists, and socialists, as Karl Marx himself, is just the bridge to communism. They're true communists. And I'm going to tell you, can you point to me any nation that fell to socialism that has the liberties that we have here in America? I'll be waiting for a while. So the American dream is grown through life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And this is why we are here. This is why policing is so important. This is why our officers have to live and breathe this. You see, crime prevention is a key element of this. Teaching people how to take care of themselves, teaching people how to not be victims. That's paramount and essential to the pursuit of happiness, which is why police departments have crime prevention units. Why do we have problem-oriented policing? Why do we want to address problems within the community? Why? Because we want people to be able to pursue happiness. Why do we do police network investigations to seek to disrupt criminal networks within the community? Why do we do community engagement and build relationships with the community? Because the community matters, because the community is who we're there to protect. The community wants the pursuit of happiness, and they want the police department to be their partners to do it. So when we as police officers and police departments, we have to help create the conditions for people to live free. I love our military. My son is in the Navy. My grandfather was in the Navy. My dad served in the Army. My other grandfather served in the Army. I have a great history. I'm the only one who didn't serve in the military, but I'm a police officer today. But we have a history of generation after generation and serving in the military. And I love without our military, we would not have the freedoms we have today. They defend us around the world. But we have another soldier here at home, that warrior on the street, that warrior who is a guardian and a servant, as you've heard me talk about, with a servant's heart. They are the ones who go out there each and every day. They're on the front lines of the community to make it possible for people to pursue happiness. And we do that through these basic fundamental things of policing. This is why policing ties so closely to the Declaration of Independence, of which we're actually celebrating on July 4th tomorrow in just 24 hours. We're celebrating the birth of a nation that loves life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, and a people that embrace that. What brings people together is those three concepts. What brings a nation together are those three concepts. What makes us stronger as a nation are those three concepts. And living them and breathing them, and know that our responsibility as police officers, that our responsibility as citizens is to bring that. So police officers going out and doing their job every day, they create the conditions for people to actually live freely. It's really amazing. I step back and think when I was putting this show together, and I spent, a few hours putting notes and writing down what I wanted to say, and putting in my talking points, as you would say, so I could share this message. The passion, I hope, comes through because I love this country and I want to see this country prosper long beyond my time. I want this for my kids and my grandkids because we live in the greatest country on earth. And I've had the privilege and honor to serve my community for the last 21 plus years, to make it possible for people to be able to pursue happiness and have a life and live in freedom and liberty. You see, policing, folks, is not political. It's just not. If we start politicizing policing, we have a problem. If police and police departments allow politicians to push them around and do the wrong thing, and police leaders are not willing to stand up when and call right is right and wrong is wrong, then we have a really problem in this country. Policing is not political. But you know what? On the flip side of that, loving the United States of America, loving your country, having patriotism is also not political. You see, the thesis of this entire show, when I put it together and I wanted to speak to this, is my badge is not political and my love for country is not political. I don't want anybody to ever think that it is. And unfortunately, in today, I look around, I see it in the news, and it saddens my heart to see so many people basing their patriotism on who the president of the United States is. Whether the president of the United States is Donald Trump or Joe Biden or Barack Obama or Bill Clinton or George W. Bush or George H. Bush or Ronald Reagan or Theodore Roosevelt, right? It doesn't matter. Or Teddy Roosevelt, all the way back to Lincoln, to Jefferson, to Adams, to Grover, to Cleveland, to every president of the United States. It does not matter who the president of the United States is. It does not matter what political party they come from. America is America because America allows you to live freely. And American police go out every day to secure that freedom on the streets, day after day, call after call, night after night, so you can have liberty in this country. The badge that we wear as police officers is sworn to the Constitution of the United States and the laws of this land. Not any president, party, poll, or politician can have anything to say about that. Nor should we bow down or abrogate our patriotism because of partisan politics. When we politicize the badge, we weaken the very thing that protects this republic, and that is just laws that are sworn to the Constitution and sworn to allowing people to pursue life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Remember again what George Washington said? He said this in another speech: guard against the imposters of pretend patriotism. What does he mean by pretend patriotism? Those are those who would wrap themselves in our Constitution and seek to destroy it. Yes, we have invaders that have sought for many years to come into this country and use our system that was built on the idea of all men are created equally, that all men are endowed by their creator with certain inalienable rights. Among those are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. That is the basis upon which we build our country. And anybody saying something else and claiming they're a patriot is pretending, and they're trying to bring this country down as imposters. We don't want imposters. We want the real deal. We want to love America. And loving America is understanding we have sins in the past. Hey, was slavery a sin in this country? Absolutely. But did we abolish slavery? We fought a bloody war called the Civil War, and thousands of young Americans, brother against brother, fought and died to eliminate slavery, to preserve the public. Lincoln was assassinated. Think about think about the improbability. We never should have won the Civil War. The Revolutionary War in 1776. We never should have beat the strongest, most powerful empire in the world at the time. And yet we overcame. George Washington against all the odds, you know, unbelievable story. We made it through the Civil War. We made it through our capital being torn down in the War of 1812. We made it through World War I and World War II and Vietnam and all those years we spent in Iraq and Afghanistan in endless wars, and we're still here. We've survived political corruption. We've survived corrupt police. We've survived so much because everything in this country goes back to being one country under God who understands that gave us the right to life, liberty, and the freedom of heaven. And that's what we pursue. And we can correct our sins and have corrected our sins because of what our founders gave us. Were our founders perfect men? No. Are there any perfect men today? No, there are not. I love our U.S. presidents and I love studying U.S. history. And another quote that I pulled was from Abraham Lincoln, and he gave this address at Lyceum in 1838. And this is what Abraham Lincoln said here. Let every American, every lover of liberty, every well-wisher to his posterity, swear by the blood of the Revolution never to violate in the least particular the laws of the country, and never to tolerate their violation by others. Let reverence for the laws be breathed by every American mother. To the lisping babe that prattles on her lap, let it become the political religion of the nation. Listen to those beautiful words of Abraham Lincoln. And what did he go back to? We swear on the blood of the men and women who died before us to bring us this just society built on just laws. And may we never tolerate their violation by anyone. Yes, this is why we have police officers on the street. This is why we have enforcement of our borders through immigration practices. And anybody who seeks the opposite of that is at war with this country and is at war with our foundings. We have to have our laws and our just laws breathed, as Abraham Lincoln said, by every American. Both mothers and fathers, the young and the old, the black, the white, the brown, everything in between. I don't care what you are or who you are. We have to be bound together by loving this country and understanding that we have reverence to the laws that breathe this country into existence. Do you know, I've been a police officer for over 2 decades. I have now served under multiple administrations. Yes, I have. I served under George W. Bush. I served under Barack Obama. I've served under Donald Trump. I've served under Joe Biden. And now I'm serving again under Donald Trump. And you want to know something? It doesn't matter the president. It doesn't matter the political party. It doesn't matter what they say from Washington. Guess what? The law itself in the United States did not change, no matter who the political party was in power. My oath to my community and my oath to the Constitution did not change because of who was president of the United States. No, the people I swore to protect did not change. The people I swore to protect are still here every day, and those are my community members in the city of Austin. Do you see, that's the point of this. We don't swear political allegiance to party leaders. We don't swear political allegiance to people. We swear political allegiance to the idea of America that our founders gave us. We swear political allegiance to the oaths that bind us. We swear political allegiance to the laws that govern us and have governed us and have given us the most free and open society you could ever imagine, the best on earth. You know, look at all the people coming over here to enjoy the amazing World Cup and all the posts. I've really, truly enjoyed watching the posts on X and other social media platforms of they're in awe of America. Many of them never saw Middle America. They're in awe of a Buc-ee's. They're in awe of a Walmart. They're in awe of all the things that we have. Free refills at restaurants. Free chips and bread at restaurants. Going into the grocery store and having your selection of all these things in front of you. And then having police officers who 99.9% of the time uphold just laws and make it so that people can be free. Do you see? We have the most just police departments. We have the most just military, and we have a just form of government. So don't ever tie who our country is to an individual, whether it's Donald Trump, Joe Biden, Barack Obama, or whoever it is. Politicians are just people. Politicians are politicians. That's who they are. Politicians are not America. America is the people. And remember, we as law enforcement officers, we as police officers, we as leaders of police departments, we are the community, and the community are us. You know, I took an oath of honor when I became a law enforcement officer. And I'm going to read part of that oath. And it says this: on my honor, I will never betray my badge, my integrity, my character, or the public trust. I will always have the courage to hold myself and others accountable for our actions. I will always uphold this beautiful Constitution, the community, and the agency I serve. So help me God. That is the oath that I held my right hand and I took on July 8th, 2005, when I put that badge on my chest. When I started the police academy in November of 2004, I knew at the end of that 8 months, I would raise my right hand and take this oath. And I look forward to living this oath out the rest of my career, however long that might be. I love this country. I love God. I love my family. I love my wife, my children, my stepchildren. What an amazing country we have to live in, folks. So much that we have to give thankful for each and every day. Get on your knees and thank God for what He has provided us and pray that we can hold it. We have learned through history, through the voices of history, from the lineage of the badge, we are in a role and we have to feel like giants in this amazing country that we have. And these giants of history, who I'm the quote, should all be role models for us to follow. These were men of courage, men who laid it all down, men who sacrificed everything. So I want to start with one of my favorite founders, Patrick Henry. And he said this in 1775: I know not what course others may take, but as for me, give me liberty or give me death. Henry was calling men to arms. That's what he was doing. He was preparing for the Revolutionary War. And he stood up and in front of that legislator in Virginia, he said, give me liberty or give me death. He knew that he had to win his liberty and it was going to be won through the blood of patriots. To my fellow police officers, today you answer that same call. Every time you walk out that door, every shift, every call you take could be your last call. And you may have to answer this call. You may have to answer this to bring somebody liberty. You may have to give in death. That is a reality of our job. Patrick Henry laid it out so clearly. You know, I think of those men that stormed the shores of Normandy, 18 to 21 years old. Many of them knew they would never make it off the landing craft or off the beach. But yet they chose to die in service of their country. They gave the ultimate sacrifice, leaving their blood shed on the beaches of Normandy so Europe could be free. What about George Washington on the Constitution and rule of law? What he said earlier. when Washington said that we have to uphold and honor these laws, that we have to bring them to the forefront because that is what we have to do. Or Abraham Lincoln, who said to violate the law is to trample on the blood of his father and to tear the character of his own children's liberty. You see, if we allow people to trample on the law and we allow criminals to continue to engage in criminal activity and suppress and hurt the American people, then we are allowing the blood of those who have fallen before us to be trampled upon. And we're allowing our children to become victims of an evil tyranny that has called itself by many names. And in the 20th and early 21st century, being communism and socialism. Two very scary words, two very dangerous things that we need to be aware of. And then one of my favorite presidents of the United States, next to, well, number one is probably Thomas Jefferson, Abraham Lincoln, and then Theodore Roosevelt. And he made a speech in 1910. He was called The Man in the Arena. And I think that this speech that he gave is just perfect for us as police officers, right? And what does he say? He says this: it is not the critic who counts. The credit belongs to the man who is actually in the arena, whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood, who strives valiantly, who errs and comes up short again and again, who spends himself in a worthy cause. Are you the man in the arena? Are you the woman in the arena? You're going to go out there every day and understand that in your failures, you get back up and you keep on going. When you fail, you don't stay down. You get back up, you pull your bootstraps up and you continue. We keep our liberty and our freedoms. And how is that won? Through dust, through sweat, and through blood. The tree of liberty, as Ben Franklin once said, is watered with the blood of patriots. Think about that. So we have to be worthy to the cause. The cause is to bring what? Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Your job is not to be Monday morning quarterbacks. Your job is not to question. We can understand and love our history. We can understand and acknowledge the errors of our past. We can understand and acknowledge the sins that we've had as a nation. But we as a nation have gotten back up and we have overcome. And we have righted many wrongs. And we today, again, as I say, are the most free and prosperous nation. Are you going to be the man in the arena? Many of you may not have known this, but did you know Teddy Roosevelt, he was the NYPD commissioner back from May 6th of 1895 through April of 1897. And again, Teddy Roosevelt, amazing president. I want to go see his library. It looks amazing. He said this: no man is above the law and no man is below the law. Obedience of the law is demanded, not asked as a favor. Think about that. Nobody is above the law. And I hear these pretenders and these hacks and these people that are full of BS out there. Oh, nobody's above the law. Nobody's above the law. You know what? That's all BS, as they sit there and break the law and ask people to do the same. No man truly is above the law. And we have a law in this land. It was established by the Constitution. We have laws in our states. They're called penal codes and transportation codes and traffic codes. And no man is above any of it. But we should never use law as a means to bring about political persuasion. We should never use law to bring people down based on politics. That is a perversion of law. And that is a perversion that men like Theodore Roosevelt never would have tolerated. Men like Abraham Lincoln and Thomas Jefferson never would have tolerated. And then let's talk about the father of modern professional policing, August Vollmer. Now, he actually quoted Sir Robert Peel from his 1829 Metropolitan Police Act. And August Vollmer put the way Peel had laid it out. Vollmer said it this way: the police are the public and the public are the police. The police are paid to give full-time attention to the duties that are incumbent upon every citizen in the interest of community welfare and existence. I'm going to translate what Vollmer was saying. Our job, going back, is to enforce the law so that we can bring life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness to those around us. So as I close, and I maybe even preached a little bit, but at 250 years, the American experiment continues. It continues because of ordinary men and women in uniform, many of us who still believe the words on that parchment written by Thomas Jefferson and signed by those 55 men are worth defending with their lives. And I believe is worth defending each and every day, which is a motivation for me to put on that uniform and walk out that door and serve my community. To my fellow officers working the streets on this 4th of July, thank you for your service. Thank you for your dedication. Last night, I had the privilege, after working an overtime shift, to stand and talk with one of our young officers. And he's only been on the street about a year. And I was so encouraged to just see his passion for the job, passion for the community, passion for this country, passion for his community. Your work, that officer's work, my work, our work is patriotic. You're not just doing a job, you're securing the conditions of freedom for everybody in your community. And I never want you to lose sight of that. Every call, every traffic stop, every time you need to take an enforcement action, remember what you are doing it for. Why of America is the pursuit of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. To Americans that may not be police officers, to those family members who are listening to this podcast, or you found this podcast or you stumbled upon it and say, who the hell is this guy, John Gabrielson? To all of those of you out there, I want you to remember that you have to support the rule of law. Yes, it is the most patriotic thing you can do, but I want to put a caveat on that. You are to support just laws and to oppose unjust laws. Any law that contradicts the Constitution of the United States, any law that seeks to restrict your life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness is by nature an unjust law. So you need to support laws that uphold life, that uphold liberty, and uphold the pursuit of happiness. You must respect the badge. You may not always agree with the badge. You may not always agree with the decision making, and that's why you have your day in court. You may not agree with how that officer handled the situation, and that's why you can file a complaint and let the administration look into it. But the symbol of the Declaration of Independence and your love for it, that visible symbol, and that symbol still has teeth, is your respect and willingness to uphold it, to love it, and to embrace it, and to embrace the rule of law. You see, without just laws, without the men and women willing to enforce these laws fairly and courageously, we have no America. Without just law, we have chaos. If we have unjust laws that seek to remove liberty, seek to remove and take over your life, promising you security and promising you free things, then you have tyranny. You see, chaos or anarchy, no police, letting people out of jails, all these things, no enforcement of your borders, all of those things, that produces chaos. What comes from chaos is tyranny. It's just one step to it, right? If somebody's promising you free things and saying, I'm going to give you free houses and free cars and free rent and free this and free that, but what happens when you run out of other people's money? What happens when you can no longer provide these free things? Well, they start to ration and they start to tell you, well, turn your air conditioning up to 78 degrees to save the power grid. Or, hey, you have to do this, or you have to do this, or hey, your liberty has to be sacrificed for the good of the whole. It no longer becomes about individualism. No longer is about meritocracy or merit or hard work. It becomes about the power of the state. And that does not bode for life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Remember, chaos has never secured anyone's liberty. Communism has never secured anyone's liberty. And socialism has never secured anyone's liberty. The only thing that's ever secured people's liberty, truly, is the freedom to pursue life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Going all the way back to the Declaration of Independence, all the way back to those words penned, which say as we close, we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, and that to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed. What a powerful statement in that opening paragraph. And this is what our mission is as American police officers. This is why I'm passionate about what I do. This is why I teach crime prevention. This is why I love what we do, because I want to do things to preserve life and liberty for all Americans of all shapes, of all colors, of all backgrounds. May God bless America. May God bless each and every one of you listening to this. May God bless my fellow police officers on the street, those who serve in our Army and our Navy, and a shout out to my son, Timothy. Thank you for your service, young man. Thank you to all who love this country. May we never lose it. May we now truly understand the why of America and go enjoy the 4th of July with your family and your friends and give thanks to God for this wonderful country and the men who gave it of us. Now, all we have to do is preserve it and fight for it. May God bless you. May God bless America. And I'm signing off for the Blue Line Project. This is your host, John Gabrielson. See you next time.